Hey guys, how's it going? This is Ty Awesome Tyler Hastings, and you are now watching the Three Count Podcast.
I'm in fashion, roll with cold passion.
Welcome everybody to another great edition of the Three Count Podcast presents Now Entering, and I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you up this mountain called wrestling. But by now, this is like episode 260 something. You should be just saying with me, I am your Sherpa. That's right. But like every good Sherpa, you got to have someone who's been there, done that, and can do it more efficiently than you can. That's why it's never about me. It's about who's entering the ring. And who's entering the ring today? You can find this man at SCPW, 1CW, VPW, ECWA, WWE, Outbreak, IPW, and Stan Styles, Intergender Bonanza. Stan, we will see you on the show soon. Don't worry. Okay. He is the one that gravity does not remember because he simply can fly everywhere. He is known simply as Ty Awesome.
That's me, man. Thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
Hell yeah, man. I'm super hyped about this because I was like, you and I have kind of run in backstage in a couple different promotions now, and I was like, I got to bring Ty on because he's always like fun. You're always like very respectful too, which is something like everybody's like respectful, but like for you, it's just you are a true definition of like a workhorse, but you're also very like humble about it too, and like you like to let obviously everybody else push you over like a lot.
Nah. No, I'm just another guy in the biz that's just trying to put in hard work just like everybody else, man.
That man. But I gotta ask the first question, man. Who is Ty Awesome?
Ty Awesome as a character or Ty Awesome behind the scenes?
Bet. Why not both?
Well, behind the scenes, my name is Tyler Hastings. I'm a guy that's, I'm just a chill guy from Salisbury, Maryland, who just works hard like everybody else, just trying to, live a happy life and do right. But Ty Awesome, Tyler Hastings, the character itself, is something that I've come up with over the past like year. And I've been doing this for about 8 and getting into a heel persona. I wanted to change it up a little bit. So I became the guy with the supply, Ty Awesome, Tyler Hastings. And the guy with the supply can keep up with anybody. He's got all the tricks to the trade. He's got a high IQ, educated feet, not afraid to go high risk. Everything he does is high level, and that's what makes me the guy with the supply.
I like it though, because it's fun watching you work and then like just watching you educate. Like, so as far as like your character goes, it's kind of like you cranked up to 100, but it is cool because like in a ring, I could definitely watch you work and like you do it all, man. Between like chaining to just like big strikes, big moves, high flying. You kind of like you're like this well-rounded dude of like knowledge to ask.
Yeah, that's something I like to be able to do. I like to see I can keep up with anybody. And that's part of my gimmick, you know what I mean? And part of the way I like to wrestle, I like to go I like to go against somebody, toe to toe, you know what I mean? It's always a good way to battle somebody to show that you can keep up with the best. And that's where I think I excel the best too, is when I go toe to toe with somebody in their own style. So
I like that. Well, I gotta ask then, what's your favorite style of like hitting?
I mean, if I had to pick a favorite style like of my own, it's going to be the high flying style. That's what I fell in love with all day. I grew up on the 2005-ish era of the cruiserweight division. So like Paul London's, the Brian Kendricks, Nunzio, all those guys, those are the ones I grew up on, and those are the ones that had me believing. So that's the style that I immediately, was drawn to. I adapted with that style immediately. And with growing up on trampolines in my backyard, it was already there, you know what I mean? So the high flying style is definitely, probably my favorite style. But I have a real extreme appreciation for, like a British world sport style. And I've come to appreciate a lot of good technical wrestling lately. So those two styles I have a good appreciation for, as well as with the high flying style.
It is cool to see guys who are like very. So I agree. I love like watching high flyers. Although I'm not gonna lie, I'm not ballsy enough to do half the shit that like they can do and half the shit that you can do. But like as far as like technical in the ring work, man, like watching people like Brian Danielson or watching people like Zack Sabre Jr. You're watching, even Will Ospreay, like he's really good, like technical in the ring, and then you could even back it up, right? So we go in like the hearts, right? So whether it's Owen or Brett, and there's just so many good technical wrestlers you can watch as far as chaining goes, and I definitely enjoy like seeing a good technical match, even like Jonathan Gresham as well.
Yeah.
Also mention him because he is one of the greats. But like you watch all these guys and just the style that they can do, and I know a lot of people will be like, "Man, that's just so boring." That's because you don't understand it, and even if you do, and you're like it's still boring, it's probably because you're missing half your brain cells. But I definitely enjoy watching good technical wrestling go back and forth because it's something that you can apply to like in real life. You could do it, shoot, or you could just, have fun with it at work.
Yeah, wrestling's real at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Wrestling is a real sport, so it's something that comes along with it. Just have two people grapple and have a battle of strength and wit. It comes to a certain appreciation. A game of chess, if you would. You know what I mean? But I mean, you're right. It's not the most appreciated style. It's definitely a methodical style, and it's an old school style for some people. But I mean, that's just how it is. You know what I mean? It's not seen as much anymore. So when it is thrown in, it's always got a spot on the card.
Yeah, it's definitely fun, and then when you can find someone who is equally able to dance the way you're able to dance, like you can tell some pretty cool stories about like who's a little bit more experienced and who's like, obviously like better at aiming for different body parts, right? So it's like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to me. Like watching people who do BJJ, I get enthralled with, right? Because one of my favorite people who was just amazing, Henzo, like he used to say it all the time. He's like, when we're in neutral position, we're gonna go over to step one and then step two, but we're never going to go back to step one. We're just going to go to step three and eventually to tap. And I think about that all the time where it's like, yeah, I definitely wanted to move that way.
Yeah.
Yo, so how did you get into the sport though?
Well, when I was young, I grew up on the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So automatically I was drawn to, bright colors, spandex suits and, all that stuff. So, originally it started with the love of Power Rangers, and then a buddy of mine ended up introducing me to SmackDown versus Raw, like the original one, when I was like 10. And then like a week or two later, I started watching wrestling. And the very first episode of Monday Night Raw that I watched was when John Cena got drafted to Monday Night Raw. So that was like my first experience. So, right after WrestleMania 21, definitely like big. I mean, the night after WrestleMania was the thing. So, and it might not have been the night after. It might have been a couple nights after, because I think it was a couple months after, because I think he ended up doing not the first blood, but I remember it being a really bloody match. It was an I Quit match with JBL at I think it was Judgment Day. I could be wrong, but yeah. So definitely prime WWE. Good stuff.
Both guys just gushing out, like just
covered
in red.
Yeah, you don't forget stuff like that.
No,
but that's how I got into WWE or wrestling. So
no, that's awesome though. I think about it too, where like it's funny to see like your first love was Power Rangers. I need to know like which set of Power Rangers are we talking, like OG Power Rangers, or are we talking about like a different?
Yeah, definitely Mighty Morphin is what I grew up on. You know what I mean? I grew up on Mighty Morphin all the way up to like I think Dino Thunder was like the last one that like I remember like I had like on like a cassette. If people remember what those are, not cassette but VHS. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Still having to rewind it back to watch.
Yeah.
I remember like coming home from school, and it was like the week of my birthday, and they debuted Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So I got to watch the very first episode like the week of my birthday, and I was so excited. Like seeing I forget the pig's name, but the pig was like the first boss like I was introduced to, and then after that was like I Guy.
Yeah, those are classic ones, man.
Right.
Those are the real good ones. Yeah, Power Rangers is definitely my first love. I'm rewatching them again, so they're definitely good.
And then what's cool, right? you apply like when you watch it, you apply it to your character, and then you start doing the stuff that people do.
Yeah, it's always been that way, So I mean, that's what I grew up on. I wanted to be a Power Ranger, and this is the closest to a real life Power Ranger I could get. So
I like it. All right. Well, then let me know because we all have these. So I just need to know what yours is. What's the worst bump you've taken?
Worst bump I've taken. I don't know. I mean, they all hurt. They all hurt. But I mean, I remember taking a bump to the outside when I first started back in man, that was probably 2016. I think I was doing a Rana to the outside, and the guy went one way and I went the other, and I went back first on a gym floor. I remember that wasn't good. I remember it hurt the next day pretty solidly. That's probably the worst bump that I've ever taken. Yeah, probably that.
It always seems like the Rana spots are always like the one that happens, right? Because even like talking with like TJP, he was talking about the time that he went for a Rana spot to the outside, and it's something that he normally does, and he usually gets it. And the one time that he missed it, he almost landed on his neck, and it was like, oh no.
Yeah,
He's like, he goes, I remember walking to the back, and I think it was Regal. It might have been Regal, and it might have been Kevin Dunn. One of the two said, yeah, don't do that again. He's like, I won't.
Yeah. Definitely high flying stuff, and I was way too green at the time to do it. So me and the other guy were both way too green to do it. So we should have knew our role. But you know how it is, the life of a performer. You just want to put it out there. And we had driven 4 hours, and it was like one of the farthest shows me and that guy ever went to. So we wanted just to make it worth it.
I got it. So what's your since you're talking about driving 4 hours to a spot, right? What's your go-to post show meal?
Post show meal? I mean, it varies. I mean, usually I don't do a post show meal. Usually I go home. But if I do, I mean, I usually get Wawa on the way up. Wawa is usually a good go-to. Usually on the way back, it varies. You know what I mean? If I do get anything at all. Because usually I'm just stuck in my phone. Adrenaline rush is a different thing with me. I have a match, and I talked to my dad about it because my dad films. Just about every show that I go to, he'll end up filming for, and he he provides for the indie wrestling that way. You know what I mean? And he helps me out tremendously. So I mean, me and Dad will usually catch up, on the ride home. And we'll talk about the show. So usually we don't really stop. But if we do, I mean, it's probably going to be Wawa again. We usually do. That's how it is. Because I'm not that I'm picky, but I mean, I can just only eat certain things while I'm on the road, I guess. And that's one thing I've trusted typically is Wawa. So yeah, shout out to Wawa. Sponsor me. I need it.
All right, man. So 8 years, right? I just need to know what's like one of the hardest lessons you've learned so far.
Don't take it too seriously. You know what I mean? I remember when I first started, and not even first started. I remember like when I first did a first accomplishment, like a first really big goal, and I remember feeling on top of the world. Well, no matter what, you're sharing a locker room with somebody else. It's never all about you. Just remember that. You all are in a locker room together. We're both here we're here to give, you know what I mean? Not take from one another unless we're in the ring. We give as baby faces and we take as heels. That's the only time we want to take from one another. So it's not always about one person. It's a shared thing. So that's one thing to always, be reminded. Everyone wants to get their shit in. You know what I mean? That's a common thing that I know you've heard. Everyone wants to get their shit in. But share the ring. You know what I mean? We share this ring. There's stories to be told in the ring if it goes one way or another. Some promoters will be like, oh, I want this guy to be 80% the entire match, but you can have 20%. And sometimes we have to bite the bullet on that as performers. I mean, if it's higher level stuff, sometimes you got to do that kind of thing because some promotions that are higher level, they'll require you to have a story. and they have a story, and there's reasons that they have to tell it, and that's just how the business works. So don't always be discouraged if you're on the bottom end of a storyline or in a match, because it's not always, someone trying to bury you. It's not always that. I tell people this all the time. As a babyface, my biggest wins have been losses. That's a huge thing. I have lost so many matches that I leave with applaud, like people applause, you know what I mean? So, which is gaining people's not only sympathy, which is what you're kind of trying to get, but you gain their respect, you know what I mean? To take an ass whooping and get up after. That's a huge thing. And sometimes getting up after a fight means you're not done, and that's what the fans want to see too. So don't always take a loss as something negative, because it's not always losing. Like I said, some of my biggest wins were losses. So those are just a couple of things. And slow down. If you think you're going slow, go slower. You know what I mean? That's one of the nice things that I've learned. I used to be really fast when I first started out, and slowing down the pace just makes it easier on not only the crowd, but your partner. So yeah, just slow it down. That's just a few things, that I've learned that usually stay in mind.
I like that though, because what's funny is we had there's a bunch of points in there you made, and I just want to kind of touch on a couple of them too. So like we were in training last week, right? And I was talking to the new guys, and we're doing rolls, and I'm just taking my time doing each roll, right? And then these kids were like getting rolls in to get up, they're all dizzy and stuff, disoriented. And obviously that's the point of being able to do rolls. Also just understand where ring placement is. So I just started telling them, I was like, yo, just slow down. And they go, well, but then they go, well, we are going slow. I was like, then go slower.
Yep. People think that everyone's moving so fast on TV, but they're not. They're pacing themselves, and they're doing it properly, not just jumping to the roll. So yeah. But you are right. That is just to get them all dizzy and woozy. That's what it's all about. You'll see me rolling at pre-shows, just roll, 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 roll. That way it's all over with.
Like for me, it's usually when I get in, like I like to get in the ring and like hit rolls and stuff like that right off the bat, and just kind of learn from what everybody else is doing. It was cool. I was in the ring with Evander James.
I love him. Great
yes.
dude. I'm going to see him in a couple weeks.
And we were in Massachusetts at Wrestling Open, and he was doing rolls and stuff like that, and I was learning new rolls from them. Like, and I was like, yo, like I'm familiar with a lot of these rolls, but then they were teaching me how to hit like certain rolls that I had never hit before. Yeah. And it was really cool to be able to sit back and just kind of learn from everybody's favorite teacher. And
those House of Glory guys, they're a different breed, man. I've wrestled Monte, and I'm going to see him in a couple weeks. I've wrestled Caveman, different breed. I mean, they all train with Red, you know what I mean? Amazing Red. So, I mean, that's one of the best wrestlers to ever, grace a squared circle. So, yeah, great guys. I love Evander James too. Super nice guy. Very first time we met him, we hit it off really well. So every time we see each other, it's almost like a reunion. We've only like seen each other 4 or 5 times, but it's like a brotherhood. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
You see a couple guys. It's like, oh my dude, yes. Because especially because I'm from Maryland and he's from New York, so he goes to shows all the time. And
right.
But we've crossed paths enough that it's like, dude, my bro. Yeah, Evander James is awesome. I can't wait to see Montekia either.
Yeah, it was funny is like I went to Massachusetts, and like I was like up there, and I was like, I'm not really gonna know anybody, so I'm just gonna have to learn and make friends really quick, right? And then I saw Evander walk in, and I remember meeting Evander at SWF a couple years ago, and then I ran into him again at, I forget what other show we were at, but I was like, hey, what's up? And he was like, hey, what's going on? And then Diego shows up, and so I was like, what's up? And me and Diego were talking back and forth. And then after that, is Tyree Taylor, who's one of my mentors. He ends up showing up. Brett Ryan Goslin. So there's a whole bunch of people just start rolling in. I was like, oh no! I was like, I know all you guys.
Yeah, that's always good.
I was like, yo, I'm from Maryland too. I was like, also I'm popping up in Massachusetts, seeing friends of mine. I was like, this is kind of cool.
That is awesome.
Especially when one of my friends who I only met on the podcast. I never met him in real life. His name's Justin Del Rio. He has a show called
Yeah, Nerds of Wrestling.
Yeah, and there's a wrestling, and then
Mm.
he just popped up, and we didn't even plan it. And also, I was like, "Yo, what's up, Justin?" He was like, "Holy shit, Cliff, you're here!"
Super cool. Another nice guy.
Yes. Um, but let's go. Let's talk about this, right? So, as far as people getting into the business, what kind of advice would you give to up and coming wrestlers?
Go to school. Go to school. Don't. I mean, you hear the cliche, people start in the yard, and it's true. People do. I did it. You know what I mean? So it's not something I'm afraid to talk about. But it's something I got out of really quick, which I'm really grateful for. I only did it for 6 months and got the hell out. So and it's very important because you just have to keep one another safe. You know what I mean? And just get training. Don't give up. I know with a lot of my students right now, I wouldn't say my students because they're not my students. It's the school that I'm a part of. I'm just, one of the higher levels there. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, but anyway, the students there, some of them haven't even had coaches before, so they don't know what it's like to be coached. So they go through like, have you ever had a coach that is hard on you, but he's just doing it to actually just kind of get through your head and kind of get you in the game? And, sometimes it's discouraging, but he's doing it not to break you, but to mold you. And that's how Mark Haro is. Sometimes he can really be like that. Not all the time, but if he can tell that you're kind of slacking a little bit or you need to get your head in the game, he's not afraid to, tell you that. And a lot of our students, they have learned not to get discouraged, but to take that and make it. You know what I mean? And that's something that I've always lived by, is prove people wrong, prove you can do it right. You know what I mean? So never feel discouraged, and you can always learn from mistakes. Take your time. You know what I mean? This business hurts. Take your time, learn as much as you can. Travel while you're young. You know what I mean? Get as much as you can out while you're young. People get in the business late, no big deal. People get in the business late and make it. You know what I mean? Look at Batista, he did it. Diamond Dallas Page, he did it too. So it's definitely possible. Some people think this is unattainable. Never set yourself back. Everything in this life is attainable if you set your goals right. Never say die. You know what I mean? When I was in this business, I was 19, and I was always afraid of being the little guy. You know what I mean? But that's something that little guys have to get over real fast. And I've faced guys that are 3 times my size, 9 times out of 10. Thankfully, I've grown in height, so I'm a little taller now. I'm 6 foot, so I'm able to keep up a little bit in height. But I still face giants in this business. So don't be afraid to fight the bigger dude either. I know guys who are smaller than me who are like, oh, I don't want to wrestle the big dude. Nah, man, that's your fight, man. You're David versus Goliath, one of the biggest fights you can do, prove people wrong. So don't be afraid. You know what I mean? Step out of your comfort zone. Other than that, just getting this business right, find a good teacher, not just you can find teachers, but once you get a good teacher, that's when your stuff will get crisp. So yeah. Those are what I would probably recommend to the newer guys starting out.
I definitely like that. Just find someone like as far as like my trainer, like he's very like, he's always like in my business, but he's always there because he's one of those nurture kind of people. But he knows like how to get the best out of people, which is kind of cool. And then like he asked me to go and help with training, so I'm kind of like in the same boat as you are. But then like I'm kind of like the opposite, where I'm just kind of like I ain't go front. I try to be nice. I'm a hard ass at times because I'm like, yo, like listen, like we're trying to teach you things to be safe, because at the end of the day, that's what this business is you gotta be safe for your partner as well as yourself. And like some people think I like take it too hard, and they actually have to go and tell my trainer like, hey, something's wrong with Cliff today, and they're like, no. He's just telling you.
Everyone has different learning styles, and teaching styles are the same. You know what I mean? Everyone's got their own teaching style. I joke and laugh all the time, so that's usually how I teach until I get upset. But I typically don't get upset because I've been in those people's footsteps before of not understanding and stuff like that. and people not believing in me. So I guess I kind of hold that to a different standard. At least I've been there.
Yeah.
So I always have a little sympathy for the new guys, but like I said, I'm not teaching, but I definitely am one of the higher people there. Mark Harrow's the trainer. You've met Mark. Me and him fucking wrestle in the ring all the time before shows just to, get loose. And great guy, really has done a great job, not only with my in-ring, but my mental. So really good dude. And he's helped me a lot. And I'm glad he says I help him all the time. I'm just grateful to do that. So.
Yeah, I definitely like Mark. Mark's such a dude I can just sit back and you can pitch just ideas that you have, and he can help grow and crisp them and sharpen them up so that they just stand out. And that's why I'm like, yes, Mark is one of those dudes I definitely appreciate.
Yeah, always.
Hey, so 8 years in the business, as we've mentioned before, but I got to know, because you've been in a lot of different locker rooms, so I need to know, what is one do and one don't of the locker room?
One do, shake everybody's hand. Everybody's. That's one of my big things. Even the women, even the sound guys, even the camera guys, because these are all your partners. Camera guys, befriend them because they make you look good. Sound guys, make sure, you're cool with them because they'll make sure your music's played just right. You know what I mean? And, we're all a brotherhood. It's important to meet everybody because you never know who's going to get picked up. So it's always important to shake everybody's hand because we're all getting in that ring and we're all hurting ourselves. This is something we all have dedicated our lives to. So shake everybody's hand, all the men, women, anybody, whoever steps in the ring, and whoever's a huge hand. You know what I mean? Shake everyone's hand. One don't. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do. If I was to say, I would say don't mark out for yourself in the back. That's one thing I would say. No one likes that. That's probably something that I used to do when I was young. I used to be like, oh, that was great. This is great. And, just, it might be that, talk about with your partner and stuff like that. But, just remember, we're all doing this, we all are. Make sure you go to and watch matches when you can and tell other people when they're doing really good. That's a do. A lot of don't should be, kind of normal. Don't leave your locker room a mess. That's probably the biggest one for me. Clean up after yourself always. That's about it. So.
I like it. Especially that last one about cleaning up after yourself. You're an adult, and also it's in the name, professional wrestler. Be a professional.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be that guy or girl. Don't be that person. Just
exactly.
I've been in a couple locker rooms, and I'm just like, bruh, it smells like straight ass in here.
Yeah, wash your gear too. Yeah,
wash your gear.
Yeah, wash your gear.
Well, listen, those are all the heavy hitting questions that I have for you, but we got to get into the second best segment because you're probably trying to figure out what's the first. There it is, the Red Dogs Power Rankings that you can find every Sunday on our debate show. But this is the 3 Count Podcast, 10 count questions. And Mr. Awesome, this is how it works. I'm going to fire off 10 questions at you rapid fast. Whatever's your answer, that's your answer. So
let's do it.
We're going to put on the imaginary timer for added pressure. Bing! In the words of Mike Goldberg, here we go. SmackDown or Raw?
Raw.
Favorite movie?
The Outsiders.
Let's go. Android or Apple?
Apple.
Favorite cartoon?
God dang, that's a tough one. Regular show.
Okay. PlayStation or Xbox?
PlayStation.
Favorite actor?
God, man, I don't really watch too many movies, so it's kind of tough. I don't know. Tom Holland. I don't know.
I was like, we can make it easy. I was like, I like Tom Holland.
Yeah, he's not bad.
Jason David Frank.
What's that?
Yes, and Jason David Frank.
Yeah, he's not bad either.
No, he's all right.
He's all right.
Don't worry, Tommy. We got you. Sonic or Mario?
Oh man, I guess I'd have to go with Sonic. I grew up on Sonic before Mario, but I love them both.
Okay. Favorite podcast?
I don't really watch or listen to podcasts too much, so I'll pick the 3 Count podcast.
And it's not like we don't have this branded everywhere, like right there and right here. Next 2 questions. Nominate one person that you want to see on this podcast.
If I have to pick somebody, I want to pick somebody from the 1CW roster, just because you're more familiar with them. You should have Rico Hendricks on your podcast if you haven't already.
Yeah, Rico has definitely been on this show.
Okay, well, if not Rico, then I would have to say, man, I'm the worst at on the spot things like that. I am. I'm the worst at it. Have you had Miles on?
So I have had Miles on, and fun fact for those who are paying attention, Miles is actually coming back for his 2nd round episode, which is actually really cool. So you guys will be seeing that in the future.
Okay, then you need to have Sean Carlson on your show.
Bet.
You need to have Sean
All right, and my favorite question I ask every single person who comes on this show. Favorite curse word?
Oh, fuck.
Right? Like,
Yeah, fuck.
a good F-bomb is all you need in life.
Yeah.
Bet. Well, those are all my questions. So the last thing I need from you is to let all of our listeners and our viewers know where they can find you.
I'm on Facebook, Tyler Hastings or Ty Awesome. You can look up either one. Instagram, Ty Awesome. Twitter, Ty Awesome Pro. I'm on TikTok at Ty Awesome Pro. That's a new one for me. I got a lot of shows coming now. I have 1CW, like I said. I got Eastern Shore Pro Wrestling. I got Valor Pro Wrestling, a show that's going to have Rob Van Dam, Alberto Del Rio, Santino Marella, Dirty Dango. Got a lot of people on that show, so it's going to be really hype. I got 2 out of 3 falls with Rhett Titus coming up, which is really cool. I got something special coming up in October. So there's a lot of good stuff, man. Things are good right now. I'm very grateful. So yeah, man, I'm wrestling in Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, you name it. Things are good right now. 2020 has been my best year in a while, and I thank God for everything. And I thank my dad for everything. I always make sure to thank my dad, because without him and his support, I wouldn't be where I am. So there you go. I'm just blessed right now, dude. I mean, I trained with Mark and Jay Briscoe on Wednesday, which I've done for years, but it was just a really good, healthy thing for me. And things are good right now, man. Things, I can't thank life enough. I can't thank God enough. I can't thank my girlfriend enough. I can't thank anybody. I can't thank you enough. The little people who, are there for me along the way. I'm just very blessed. And, so I got really emotional there at the end, but yeah, that's where you can find me. So that's where I'm going to be.
Bet. Well, there you have it. He gave you all his handles. He told you where you can find him, and even told you about some things that are going on in the future and what he's grateful for, which is definitely appreciated. But that means that we have to do our favorite thing in every wrestling match. Take it home. Because this is the 3 Count Podcast presents Now Entering, and I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you up this mountain called wrestling. But like before, like I said, it's never about me. It's about who's entering the ring. And who's entering the ring? You see him right there. It is Ty Awesome, Tyler Hastings. And you guys know what to do. Tune in to the next episode and be there, or you're subscribing to our YouTube channel. You're subscribing and following us on all of our social media platforms. You're buying our merch on ProWrestlingTees.com/3 Count Podcast. I don't know why you guys aren't writing this down. Or you're just waiting for this episode and you're waiting for the outro. And then you're choosing another episode to listen to. Peace. What's going on, 3 Count Nation? I'm Clifford Red Dog Miller with the catchphrase. But what I really want you to do right now, go to twitter.com, right? Go over there Find us at the 3count_pod. Give us a follow, give us a like, give us a comment. We want to talk to you guys. Go to IG at the 3count_pod. Give us a like, give us a follow, leave us a comment. We want to interact with you. Go to youtube.com, give subscribe, turn the bell on, turn the notifications, leave a comment. We want to talk to you. Go to anchor.fm/the3count podcast, and in there, you can leave us a message, and we will talk to you. Basically, what I'm trying to tell you is that we want to talk to you. We want to have fun with you guys, and we love listening to what you guys have to say. Also, one thing I need you to do for me, the 3Count Podcast also has merchandise. Oh! At ProWrestlingTees.com/the3countpod. Please go buy our t-shirts. We love you guys, and we hope you love us too. So, show us some support, please.